All right, so I am mostly inspired by this Pokemon and by this one. So I'm going to take that image, I'm going to drag it to my desktop to save it. It's just an inspirational image, doesn't need to be a high resolution. And now I'm going to open up my sketchbook, but I'll do it digitally here so you can see it all. And looking at that, shrink this down a bit, okay. Looking at those reference images, I'll actually open them up in Photoshop for myself. I need to sketch it out. Okay, so these are my references, but I'm going to use my sketchbook. And if you want to draw digitally, that's just fine. I do an 8 by 10 by 350 pixels per inch. I'm going to call this Carl Creature Sketch. All right, swoop that out. So my creature sketch, I like to sketch with blue line. So the first thing I want to do is just look at the creature and think, okay, what am I most excited about? Well, I like the idea of this kind of baby Tyrannosaurus head. So what are the basic shapes of it? Well, he's got this horn, triangle beak. He's got this square kind of wedge-like upper mandible or upper jaw. He's got a cranium though. All creatures that have skeletons inside them, that aren't exoskeletons like bugs, will have a cranium shape, have the eye somewhere on that shape, and then have the mandible come from there. And so you can see that very clearly on this creature. So I'm going to want to build that in. I want to see where the eyes are, and I like the idea of kind of a big, really noticeable eye, and a squared off top of the head like that. And that shows me where the other eye would be too. And it's important to have what are called action lines here, so I can see which way the head is facing, because that will help me choose the references I want. I'm going to need heads of creatures that are angled in this 3/4 way. Now I don't need to match this exactly, but I like this proportion of mouth to eye to forehead to horn, because it feels a little bit different than what's in the animal kingdom. It feels young, kind of cute, and yet kind of vicious at the same time. And I might go for more of a flare out behind the eye, something like that. Bony protrusions. I can play with that. Okay, now here's the hard part. Doesn't matter if your head looks like that or if it's just super sketchy like that. Right? This is the important part. I have to figure out where the spine is and how that connects with the head. Now if I go with this reference, the spine arches up and around. But this reference, the spine is hidden in this rock. So I'm going to start at the back of the neck, or the top of the neck where the cranium meets the spine, and I'm going to make an arc like that. So that's the spine of my creature. That spine's incredibly important. That's what shows me where the collarbone is and where each shoulder is. And then from there it shows me where the forearms are. And I'm drawing through here even though I wouldn't see this. And if I'm using the crustacean here, it shows me where those claws would start. So on that side there, on this side maybe here. Okay? Now crustaceans and bugs, they have exoskeletons. So their structure is on the outside. So they actually need kind of like ball joints, things to connect them. So that's why I'm not just drawing that and then a wrist, because this doesn't work like a wrist. Instead, these pincers are always going to be locked in certain proportions to each other. They're not muscles that can flex. So you want to understand kind of what reference you're looking for. And so here I'm going to be looking for bugs or crustaceans for this kind of reference. So I might even make that as a note. So maybe scorpion claws as an idea. And, you know, I obviously think of a rhinoceros here. But I might also find something else, like maybe dinosaur bones, like the plates from a triceratops or something. Then the mouth, maybe a T-Rex, as long as it's photo-believable. Doesn't need to be an actual creature. Or maybe some other creature like a lizard, Komodo dragon, something with a scary mouth and jaw. Okay, so that's my collarbone. Next, I need a rib cage. Is the rib cage large or small? Mine's going to be pretty small. And that has to take up space, right? And so the rib cage of my creature, this might be lizard. That structure. And then the hips. So these are all the skeletal structures that you need to sketch and understand what angle they're at before you actually find your reference. And I don't want these legs, and I don't want those legs. I want something in between. So I'm going to do the backwards bending knee kind of haunch, which looks like this, and then the leg coming out, but off to the side. Right, so that's how that would look. And then on the other side of the hip, it would come out the same way, same length. The bones don't change length, only the muscles can flex. So here I have a fantasy creature that's combining, even though I don't see that leg, it's there, I've drawn through. That's combining exoskeleton with skeleton, reptilian, crustacean features with mammalian features. And now, what I really liked is that it has this big rock on its back. And so other reference I'm going to need is going to be like a shell. And I can reference turtles maybe for how that interacts. So I might have a seam here, which is based more on like a turtle or a tortoise. Question mark for all of these. And then rocks. Desert rocks. For camouflage, right? And so that will be a very different texture as well. So bringing all these textures together. Now with this, with a dark pencil or with a pen, I'll do it with black. I then want you to just outline what the silhouette is that you've come up with. And that silhouette needs to make sense and be kind of powerful on its own. That's why Pokemon are so helpful in referencing, because most of their designs use very strong silhouettes. And they're posed in ways that really help to tell what the creature looks like. Just like we did for our fantasy landscape, you're going to use this sketch to build up your composite. This becomes the plan that you bring reference onto. But different than your landscape. So does that help kind of show what my creature is about? And I think, yeah, I think that's going to help, especially when I have the eye as a focal point, you know, somewhere like here. That helps understand what my creature is. It's this like weird thing that can kind of fit itself into a rock if it needs to, like a turtle. All right. So I've just, based on my silhouette, I've changed my eye design slightly, which is better. It actually leaves me more room up here. So this is what you need to bring into class. And start finding reference. I'm going to do that between classes so I don't waste class time showing you how I look for a rhino head or a T-Rex or a lizard. Find a lot more reference than you need, and be mindful of the direction of the reference that you're looking at. You want it to be facing the right way, and you also want to be somewhat mindful of the light source of it, so that it can come together believably into this kind of positioning where we can still believe the anatomy to work. We can see how this could move, how this could move, how this head could be supported by a spine, and so forth. All right, that's it.